right, Tim, after the lack of MSRPs on both the 3080 12GB and 2060 12GB, and no card seemingly available to hit and stay at their MSRP, and what do you think will be the effect of companies dropping MSRPs entirely on graphics cards, for instance? Maybe they're just doing it for 12GB models.
Maybe.
We're seeing a trend here, are we not? I mean, it's pretty obvious why NVIDIA's gone about things the way they have for those two particular products. I mean, I don't know, for lack of a better term, exposed the game plan there in our almost day one reviews because they withheld drivers for the 3080 model. This whole MSRPs going away type discussion, and everyone seems really heavily invested in it. And you and I think we're both just like, don't really see this as being too much of an issue. And at the moment, the market's a mess. We've been saying don't buy graphics cards now for a year. Wait for it to, competition to return and things to settle down. We know why it's a mess, and we don't expect that to continue forever. We don't also expect it to go back to the way it was, but it'll certainly improve. And as things improve and graphics cards are sitting on shelves, which they're doing now, we've spoken to retailers and they're like, we're telling AMD and NVIDIA things have to improve on pricing because we have a lot of cards sitting around not moving. So that's sort of started happening over the last few weeks. So they're going to have to get serious with pricing if they want to start shipping cards in good volumes again.
Yeah, and I think it's important to note that no MSRP doesn't mean no price.
Yeah.
Because when you go to a retailer, you're seeing a price. Mm-hmm. So it's not like we're going to be sitting here going, well, we have no idea what this card costs. And when producing reviews in the future, it's not just going to be, well, we've got card X and Y and there's no pricing for these, so not much we can do there. No, we can find out the price by looking at the retail shelves and what they're actually charging for their cards. Yeah, it's going to be not as ideal for reviews before the release because there's going to be, it's going to be hard to know. But
yeah, exactly. But as you say, the market has still determined the pricing of these cards, which is why we've seen 5700 XTs worth more or the same as 6700 XTs, despite them being a slower product for gaming. They're better for mining. Therefore, the market has dictated the pricing there. And the 3080 12GB, was the pricing of that particularly surprising?
No, not really. I think we had a pretty good guess of where it would be.
It's slotted in between a 3080 and a 3080 Ti, right?
Yeah.
So all it means is we should know how much money NVIDIA is getting per 3080 Ti sale. And we know they're getting a lot less money for an original 10GB 3080. The 12GB 3080, we don't know what they're selling them for, and that pricing could be dynamic on NVIDIA's end. They're just like, we'll just charge what the market will bear. We're going to crunch our partners and retailers and distributors on what they can actually get away with that product, and we're going to maximize our margins on it. That's what they've done.
Yep, pretty much.
That's why that product exists. We knew what they were doing and why, but they couldn't say, we're going to make it, we're going to reduce volume. Like, people were like, well, what if they sort of discontinue the 3080 Ti and the 3080 and make this a $3,000 card? I was like, well, that's not what the market is telling them they can do. They can't just go, oh, we're going to delete MSRPs because we want to charge $4,000 a card now.
Yeah, it's like if people aren't willing to pay that price, they're not willing to pay that price.
It'll just sit on shelves until they get down to a price that people... So, I mean, that's how this stuff works, right?
Yeah, it's not ideal to not have the MSRP. We would prefer to have the MSRP, but it's not going to destroy reviewers. It's not going to destroy the pricing for you guys. The price is the price.
Also, if they're like, we've released the 3080, the MSRP is $700, go get one tomorrow for $2,500. How useful is the MSRP then? Yeah. If anything, I feel that MSRP was more damaging for day one reviews.
Yeah, because the MSRP is wrong.
Yeah.
Like, it's a lie.
So we all review, and at the time it was different, but we reviewed those cards based on the MSRP, and it turns out that it was 80% more than that, 90% more, 100% more. So I feel the MSRP being way more misleading in that direction is more damaging for reviews and consumers than. So I don't see it as being a big issue, and we know. And even for new generation cards, we don't need to know when they release the 4000 series, we don't need the MSRP to review that accurately. We can be like, okay, so let's say it's 40% faster than the 3080. We know what the 3080 costs. Do you want to pay 40% more so you're not getting any extra value there, or do you want that performance at the price we're currently paying for a 3080?
Yeah.
So you can work all that stuff out, and you can. I mean, we've done like 3 to 6 different pricing analysis in the day one stuff. So
I think people get cut up because they want the review to either say this is good or bad based on the performance and the pricing. But there's other ways to review, and that's a way that you've used for some of the latest things like the 3050, for example, where you show different prices saying, this is the price it needs to hit. If it's higher, it's bad. If it's lower, it's good. And it becomes very simple in that.
Yeah, people say,
area.
you guys let NVIDIA off. I said in plain English very clearly, if the RTX 3050 is at or near $500, and certainly above $500, then it is a big fat nothing burger. Completely ignore it. It's not worth buying. Just get yourself an RX 6600. Like I can't be any more clear with the messaging there. And what did it hit, like 600 US?
Briefly, I think they're down under 500 now.
Okay.
But
yeah. Well, whatever the case is, we gave different price ranges, and again, I think that's even a better, more conclusive way of going about it, which is why I find this whole thing a bit silly, because we're covering all regions then.
Yeah, and even when there's an MSRP, the AIBs have all sorts of different models.
Yeah.
So, yes, there's going to be the entry-level cards around that price, but even for some products, the entry-level cards may be starting $20, $30 more, and then you might be having your premium models that are $60, $70, $80 more in a normal market. And so then having that number where it makes sense is very useful. And yeah, I agree. It can be more useful than just saying, well, the MSRP card is the price. Because I wouldn't know the numbers on this, but how many people in a normal market are actually buying the cards at the exact MSRP? Or are they paying 10% more, 15% more? So yeah, like I think we've covered pretty comprehensively, not having an MSRP isn't that big of a deal.
We will criticize them for being misleading with the MSRP for sure, as we've continued to do. We would much rather that we get that information accurately, but we also don't think it's the end of reviewing because we don't have an accurate MSRP, because we know what they sell for.
Like what about Z690 motherboards? Is there an MSRP for Z690? No, there's an MSRP for each board.
Also, I can reach out to half a dozen retailers prior to they all talk to me. They're all more than happy to give me the information. Like, so what is it actually selling for? What does stock? And I get all the information. I include that in the reviews every time. So it's not like we go into this going, oh, gee, it could be $4,000 or it could be $1,000. We ultimately have no idea.
Yeah.
Like, anyway, we'll move on to the next question because we could ramble forever on that one.
Yep.
All right, Tim, I've got a monitor-related thing here that apparently came up in our live stream. I feel like I can answer this one based on my crude understanding of the technology, but maybe there's something to be added. Based on a chat I read in a live stream,